the number one problem in the world today?
It's the church.
Real. Talk. Real. RTR, in conjunction with BEC Media, presents Real Talk Radio. The show that says just because you don't attend with them does not mean you're not in him. The him being Jesus. The show that plants seeds and waters seeds, but God gives the increase. So let's talk about it on Real Talk Radio. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Well. I hope and pray today that my microphone is working well. They've been talking about me already. I hope they don't try to sit me down for a few weeks. I'm hoping I'm coming across loud and clear. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk Radio. The show that says just because you don't attend with them does not mean that you're not in him. The him being who? Jesus. That's right. The show that plants seeds and water seeds, but God gets the increase. Today on Real Talk Radio, we just got an open mic. We got a few things you want to get off our chest. If you got something you want to get off your chest, the call-in number is 516-418-5903. And as of now, it looks like we don't even have any callers in the queue. Guess this topic ain't trendy enough, but
Jinx yourself.
John, what's poppin', brother?
What's going on, man?
Is you on mute or something? What you doing?
Who?
Nothing. What's going on, bro?
Not much, man. Just got up on the Sunday morning. I got up at the last minute. Still tired.
Right.
Okay. Rob, what's up, bro? What's happening?
Not much, man. Feeling good this morning, man. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff happening, man. So in the world and locally, and I guess in all of our areas. But that's part of why we wanted to have this little open mic session, calling all MCs up, and calling all the MCs up. So we just wanted to talk about a lot of this stuff, man, going on. We didn't really have any set agenda for today, man, but a lot of stuff going on. We want to kind of touch on a lot of it and get some thoughts, from the callers too, man. So open mic.
Right. Open mic, 516-418-5903. If you want to cuss us out, tell us how horrible we are, tell us how much scripture we don't know, or whatever. If you want to call and say thank you, please, the microphone is open. We take all criticism, whether we like it or not. That's how you grow. A lot of people don't like being criticized. You ever notice that? A lot of people can't take it, but you grow from your criticism. I mean, if it's constructive and you can learn from something, people telling you about yourself, take it and learn and grow from it. I mean, if it's really not you, then, put it off to the side. We welcome criticism, we welcome thank yous because it helps us, and it keeps you humble. We never want to be the people with the big head, even though all three of us still got big heads. But beside the point.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, okay. So, Rob, you went down, there was a protest in Durham, right? How did that go? Did you learn anything from it? What's up? What happened?
Well, this kind of made national news, man, but this was Friday that there was allegedly a rumor going around that some white supremacists, white nationalists, even, KKK, whatever you want to call them by, all of those names, it was rumored that they were going to stage a protest in Durham dealing with the removal of a Confederate monument. And based on that rumor, man, the city turned out People came downtown, converged on downtown, and staged a peaceful counter demonstration to what they thought was going to be a white supremacist protest, but apparently they never showed up. I mean, I was kind of watching it from work online. Turned into like this big kind of, peace rally. People were in the streets, dancing. There was music and the whole 9 yards. So it was very peaceful, but that's basically what it was about, man. It was kind of a counter protest to what was allegedly going to be a white nationalist, white supremacist Ku Klux Klan demonstration. So that's basically what happened, man. And I look at it in kind of a double-edged sword fashion, because I look at it as a good thing that, based on a rumor, even a rumor, the city turned out and they were demonstrating that, hey, you're not going to be demonstrating any white supremacy, white nationalism, KKK, all of that, racism stuff in Durham. We're not going to tolerate it. So the city came down and was like, this is what it is. This is what you're going to be dealing with if you try to bring that foolishness to Durham, North Carolina. So, and it turned out peaceful. It wasn't, there wasn't any damage or anything like that. No arrest from what I could tell. I haven't heard of anybody being arrested or anything like that. So that's a good thing. But the other side of it is, again, based on a rumor. And this may be kind of the conspiracy theorist in me kind of creeping out. But just based on a rumor, on the flip, everybody came downtown. What if there was I don't know, dare I even say it, man? What if it was a setup? You know what I mean? So what if somebody from one of those racist organizations kind of put that out there just to kind of see what would transpire? I don't want to get too off into what ifs and conspiracy theories and all that, but there's something to be said. There is something to be said for kind of calm, rational thinking before emotionally responding. There's something to be said about that. I agree with that mentality to an extent. So as far as if you hear of a rumor of a Klan protest or white supremacist protest, somebody probably needs to, because isn't this public record? Somebody probably needs to, check with downtown to make sure these organizations actually got a permit to demonstrate. And if they did, then that it's true and it's not a rumor, that they plan to demonstrate. Then you could organize your counter protest. You know what I mean? So that's where I am with it, man. But I choose, this morning, looking back on it, I choose to be proud of my city and be proud of the fact that the people turned out. It was peaceful. It was unified across racial lines. There were people of all races and nationalities down there demonstrating in unity and for peace and against hatred and white supremacy and the Klan and all of that type of stuff. So it was a very peaceful demonstration. Like I said, it was unified across racial lines, and that's how I choose to look at it. So I'm very proud of my city, very proud of Durham, North Carolina for what they did Friday.
So, Jonathan, I had a question.
What would happen?
Go ahead. I can hold mine.
I was going to ask Rob, what would you have done if some stuff would have popped off? Would you have been right there fighting them and stuff? What you would have did?
I mean, I probably would have been down here too, man, to be honest with you.
Fighting, bro.
I was going to say what?
You too old to be fighting, bro.
I mean, I would have been out there trying to demonstrate, but I mean, like I said, I heard about it Friday. I was already at work, and I heard about it Friday while I was at work. So I logged into one of the local news stations online, and they were running a live feed, and they were reporting from from downtown. And like I said, it was this peaceful rally, and they were saying that, and since it was organized like at the last possible moment, and it was a heat advice. It was mad hot Friday down here. It was a heat advice. It was real humid. It was well into the 90s. So I did kind of hear, like, one of the news people were reporting, and in the background I heard somebody saying, "Medic, we need a medic over here." So, people were probably passing out from the heat. Then they started putting out, on Twitter and on all, various social media, if you're not down here and you're headed down here, bring some water. Bring water for people. And I thought about doing that. I was like, okay, when I get off, I'm going to grab a case of water or two, take it down there. Man, by the time I got off work, everything had kind of dispersed. So I was headed down there either way, but, not to really get caught into any drama, but just to try to demonstrate, man, peacefully.
Wow. What you got to say, John?
This question was kind of for you because I know what kind of work you do. So if people want to demonstrate and get a permit, like, what's the process for that? Do you know?
Yeah, they have to go to the police to get that type of permit.
Oh, okay.
My section, because I got with calls actually about people trying to get permits for that type of stuff. We have to send them to the police station for that. They had to go through the police. I only deal with like building permits and stuff like that.
Okay.
And is it a matter of public record? So
yes, it is public record.
Okay.
Yep. Anybody can come down and request a public record for any type of permit. Anybody got a permit anywhere within the city. Anybody can come down and get it. See who filed for that permit, who got it, who paid for it. You can see all that stuff. It's all public record.
So you don't keep the police ones, do you, or y'all just keep the city ones?
There's some, we just keep the city ones, but, we are part of the city. There's certain ways you can go about getting it. We have this thing called cages, and I think all city permits are put on there. So you have to put an address in or something like that for a permit. Get like sidewalk permit. Another department does it, but we can pull up and see the sidewalk permits.
Okay, that's cool.
So, yeah, it's all public record. And speaking of those things, I don't know if anybody knows, me and John are both from Cincinnati, Ohio. And for many, many years during Christmas time, the Ku Klux Klan erected crosses down on our main, what we call Fountain Square. They did that for many years, right? They will have a Christmas tree, they will have a menorah, and everybody had to get their permits to erect these things, and the Ku Klux Klan will always put up a permit. Now, it wasn't met lightly. There was always counter-protesters out there, people throwing bricks and rocks, and, the police chief. I think the city tried to deny them one time, and they sued in the federal court, said that the city had to allow them to put that cross up, but they had to pay for police protection, like $175,000 or something like that. And this went on till I think early 2000 or something like that. So it's been going on for years. So people had to get permits. So this stuff is not new. As people were saying, this stuff is not new. No.
All right.
Yeah, man. So, what about because I don't know if other people have talked about it. Well, they have, but the lack of response of condemnation for all the stuff that's going on in Charlottesville from the white evangelical church. I don't know if you guys remember a while ago, and I think Jay Mack even called in to talk about it, how the SBC went through some turmoil on denouncing the alt-right and white supremacy and stuff. A lot of their members did not want to come out and denounce the same issue that Trump had with specifically denouncing them. They had to take votes because a lot of people did not want to denounce white supremacy within the Christian community. And that seems ridiculous on its face. But when you think about how people use scriptures to justify slavery and all this stuff, to justify it. You kind of understand it, and I'm gonna get back to that. But I want to talk about this cat that we was talking about. John was talking to him, and I think Leonard was, and also Mike Barstow was talking to this guy named Charles Church. His last name is Church, and he said that slavery was not sin, but abolitionism is sin.
Oh,
and
yeah, I saw that.
It's just crazy. Yeah, and this was like, 2 days ago. So this is not like back in the 1800s or back in the 1960s. This is today. People still have these same ideologies, these same thoughts, and think that they are true Christians.
Right.
They really believe that they are true Christians. How do you deal with somebody like that? Like, but then they'd be in the workplace with you smiling in your face like everything okay. How do you deal with somebody like that?
They could do that because you're not like them.
Explain.
You different. You're not like them.
Mm-hmm.
Explain. What do you mean you're not like them? Like
okay,
me as a person? I'm not like those other blacks.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
Okay.
You're not like
I'm
them.
a good black.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
You a good
like
boy.
Those thugs. I'm not a thug. Yeah,
right.
I take care of my kids.
All the stuff you're supposed to do anyway. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So here's my thing. When I was dealing with that Charles Church guy, right? And so this was on a post by somebody who really helped us out a lot when we were first coming out of the church, Steve Lumley. And Steve tolerates these races on his page. He never challenges them. And so that's part of the problem, too. You hear silence from these white evangelicals, and then you hear a defense mechanism that they come out with, and they always want to go to the Bible to try to justify the racism and all that stuff. Somebody take over for a second. Talk about that for a second.
That was your point you were making, bro.
Yeah, right. I was thinking of his point that he was making.
Oh my God. Okay.
Go ahead, Rob. Wait.
I mean, as far as I can read John's mind, but yes, when you mention Steve Lumley, man, we do have a lot of respect for Steve, because again, he was instrumental in helping us, deal with life outside of the institutional church. And it for anybody wondering, yes, Steve is a white guy, but of course that transcended any type of racial divide or anything. I mean, it had nothing to do with race, but for what John was saying, I'm sorry?
Hearing the echo.
I don't hear it.
I don't hear echo.
Okay, well, go ahead.
I just heard it. But anyway, somebody must have us on speaker or something, or I don't know. If you got us on speaker, maybe turn your
go ahead, it's over. It's over.
Turn it down. But I think that's what John, correct me if I'm wrong, man, but like you said, I guess the post that Steve made was one that I find is common amongst Christians, sometimes even black Christians, but I don't know. I'm trying to be, real kind of tactful in what I'm trying to say, man. But you were saying that he kind of tolerates those people with those kind of extremist views, like the Charles, what's his name, Charles Church, and see the partially is because Steve is he's trying to approach it from a strictly and understand where I'm trying to go with this, because I'm not really co-signing or anything, but I'm just trying to explain where I think he's coming from. He's trying to come from a purely
say it, nigga.
Shut up. From a purely Christian standpoint, because he threw out a lot of scripture. Not saying he's justifying racism, but from our standpoint, it's like, Steve, like I said, he's our brother because he helped us out a lot, dealing with life outside of the institutional church. But, from our perspective, it's like Steve is coming from a place of, dare I even say, a place of white privilege. And it's kind of like he doesn't really understand a lot of what we're seeing from our perspective and what's going on in the world today. Dealing with racial and social injustice. So, because we've talked on this show before about people kind of using scripture, but, using scripture slightly out of context to gloss over and kind of avoid dealing directly with racial and social injustice under the guise of we're all brothers and sisters in Christ. So we're not supposed to even acknowledge racial and social injustice. But we say, if you're our brother and sister in Christ, please do acknowledge up front and be bold about acknowledging racial and social injustice from black or white people.
Now, and I'll say this, I still do love Steve. I like Steve. I enjoy what he did. But that doesn't mean you can't call him out for when he's wrong or when he's short, when he's missing things. Because we expect people, especially us on this show, if we're missing it, we expect you to call us out. We expect you to tell us when we're wrong. We call it Shark Tank. So there needs to be some type of accountability. Whether you receive the accountability or not is one different thing. Now, on this, when it comes to biblical matters and theological issues, I agree with a lot of what Steve said. But when it comes to racial things, you have to understand where Steve is, his age, how he grew up, where he grew up. He is a middle-aged white man. He maybe his late 50s.
No, he's in
early
the
60s. He's what?
He's in the 60s.
He's in the 60s. Okay, but he's in the 60s. So you understand the era he grew up in, not really growing up around many black people. So, he gets his cue from his upbringing, what he was around. So it's hard for him to understand and get it, to empathize with the plight of black people. So, again, when he doesn't call out these racists, when he doesn't call out these racists, I'm going to stop. I keep getting echoes every time I talk. Somebody else take it.
All right, so for me, it's like, okay, you could say I have all this biblical knowledge and do this, that, and the other, but like you said, when it comes to racial matters, are you really that blind? So that's my question. Do white people really not see it? Do they really not see what we're saying? Or is it the case of because we say it, it's not that important, but if a white person says it, then it takes hold. And that's nonsense. It's the same thing. We're saying the exact same thing, but because we said it, it doesn't matter. It's looked at like, that's just them over there. But when it comes to Steve tolerating these guys, he never calls them out. He never says one thing about it. And that's sad.
So I think the question was asked recently, John. And it might have popped up in one of our private chats, with the greater CFR crew. What do we expect, like, the average white person to do when it comes to dealing with or acknowledging racial and social injustice? Because I think a lot of people expect that we are seeking some sort of white guilt. We don't want white people to feel guilty, and that's what. Because I think Steve said something about in one of his posts recently, this post was happened in the last few days, where he said, and I'm just using him as an example here. We're not attacking Steve. I'm just using him as an example here. He said something to the effect of, well, I can't help it, that I'm a white guy. I can't help it that, white people, and I'm paraphrasing, please correct me if I'm wrong. I can't help it, what happened.
Let me read it.
Okay,
let me read it. I am a white man. I did not choose my skin color. I did not choose my parents. I am not a racist. I have never owned slaves. I have never mistreated, belittled, or disrespected anyone because of the color of their skin. I will not be made to bear guilt for the actions of my ancestors.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. And see, we're not. I think a common misconception is people expect that black people are looking for that type of white guilt. Oh my God, my ancestors, we're so sorry. No, we're not. No, we don't want guilt. You know what I'm saying? So, what do we expect from the average white person who, like Steve, never own slaves and he can't help it if he's white? You know what I'm saying? What are we expecting? Are we expecting anything?
No, I'm not. But so here's my thing about that white guilt stuff. Ain't nobody asking you to feel guilty. You feel guilty because you feel guilty. That's the only reason you even bring that up. Because ain't no black person ever said you're supposed to feel guilty. Ain't no black person ever said that you personally own slaves. No, but the disconnect is when you fail to realize that the legacy of slavery still lives on today. Yes. That's the problem. And you fail to acknowledge that, and you fail to connect the dots. You can't draw a picture, connect the dot pictures without connecting the dots. You have to connect the dots. They want to go from 1 to 7 without going to 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It don't work like that. That's not a true picture.
How they benefit. That's right. How they benefit.
And that's the thing.
And it's still benefiting today from slavery and Jim Crow and all this redlining and all this different stuff, and how black people have suffered from it. And they can't see that. Well, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, or you got to work hard to get. No, that's not true. It's not true. But for them, a lot of them, that's what they see. And as Elder said, from the average white person, we don't expect much. Just if you hear it, and you hear it making racist comments and stuff, tell them to stop it. Correct it right then and there. Stand up for your black co-workers when you hear your other co-workers talk behind his back.
Right.
That's insane. That's insane. Well, this is the world we live in. Huh? This is the world we live in. This is the world we got. Go ahead, John.
Right.
And I'm also say this, when it comes to people who have a platform, but people like Steve, who has a platform and has a lot of followers, to stand up and say something, when he sees it, to address it, to even acknowledge, yes, I have benefited from slavery. To even just acknowledge that you have benefited. Now, there are a lot of poor whites, and they still benefit in ways that black people don't. And you can't see it. They can't see it. Oh, I was poor. I was raised poor my whole life. I can't see nothing. But they just still see. But it's been passed down from generation to generation. Wealth has been passed down from generation. And this is not every white person. Because not every white person was a slave owner. But you still benefit from white supremacy. Not just slavery. When you open up, when you're reading a book, a fictional book, if it's not by a black author, the majority of those characters in that fictional book is going to be white. When you turn on TV, most people you see are going to be white.
Mm-hmm.
And this has, and this ain't, it's not about disparaging white people. This is just the world we live in, period. And we suffer from that too. Because sometimes when I'm reading a book, a fictional book, or listening to it, I assume the book I'm reading right now, I had to be reminded that this lead character was a black guy. They said it earlier in the book. I have to keep reminding myself that, this is a black guy, with black skin. And it's amazing how that's just what society does. That's the indoctrination. That is the world that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
314, you're live on Real Talk Radio. What is your name and your comment?
Good morning, fellas. This is J Mac. How y'all doing?
All right, what's going on, man?
You know what? I was just sitting there listening to you guys, and I as I'm listening, I started thinking about more and more things. And somebody posted the other day that he said, "Hey, man, I'm a mixture of Malcolm X and Dr. King." And you know what? I am too. I mean, I'm not a separatist or any nonsense like that. I don't believe. Now, I can't comport that as a Christian, separating black Christians from white Christians and Asian Christians and whoever. We're all brothers. My problem is, as I'm sure most of you guys, is that if you're a true Christian, you should have a problem with social injustice. I don't know why anyone would think that Jesus or his disciples did not have a problem with social injustice. And I think I mentioned this before, but here's a prime example in the New Testament when Peter was acting funnier with Gentile believers when some of the Jewish converts came around, and he wouldn't eat and share meals with them. That was a form of social injustice. He was treating them indifferently, or basically he was being racist. And Paul checked him. Paul didn't check him behind closed doors either. He called him out. It's like, how you gonna eat with these guys, and everything's all chummy, but then when these Jews show up, you want to act like you don't know these guys. What's up with that? And I'm saying that to say that when white folks see racism, how they interpreted it or whatever, I guess it's different for different people, but they should, especially Christians, should have the courage to stand up to that, stand up against that, stand up against social injustice, stand up against that. If you see like you guys mentioned, people in the workplace saying stuff or, snickering behind people's backs, so that's just not funny. I don't make racial jokes at work. I don't do that with other black people. So I don't expect anyone who considers themselves to be my friend to allow someone to do that to me, when I'm not around. Now, if they're bold enough to do it in my face, hey, great, let's go for it. But anyway, just this morning, as I don't know if Andre is on a call or not, but some guy was defending this clown who was threatening to shoot protesters in the back. I don't know if y'all seen that video.
I saw it.
And this other clown gets on there talking about, this is fair. The guy is just saying that he's going to protect this. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to give this guy one shot at the benefit of the doubt. I'm saying this guy is not talking about defending anything. He's talking about going down in the streets and shooting protesters, men, women, and children specifically. That's what he said.
In the back.
In the back. And this guy came back and said, I said, okay, well, you know what you are? You are a suspected white supremacist. And I would never call you a brother. And, those people like that, I refuse to call brothers. If you co-sign terrorists, you co-sign Klan, and say, they have a right to speak and all that, if you're co-signing all that crap, you're not a brother to me. And that's just my point of view. Maybe somebody doesn't agree with it, but I can't fathom being in a Christian relationship with someone that thinks it's okay to oppress minorities or black people or any of that kind of stuff. I just can't. It don't make any sense to me, man. So I know I've been rambling on, but still, I got a lot more to say, but I won't try to say it all right now. So.
Okay. Now, let me ask you, brother, a question.
Go ahead.
I can't do it. I don't have the patience, but this is for all three of you guys. You guys forth with these bigots online, to argue with them, try to get them to see it from your point of view, and why do you feel like you need to show them?
If I understand, I think you were breaking up, but if I understand what you were trying to say, you were saying that sometimes I debate with bigots. I don't. just for me personally, I don't debate with all bigots. I try to glean the level of bigotry, if there's such a thing. In other words, if I suspect it's just ignorance more than bigotry, then I try to, interject some thought in there to say, hey, no, this is reality. It's just like, for example, a lot of white people have this idea that Black Lives Matter or a riot group. They go around rioting and all that, and they don't take the time to study to find out that the people who are actually doing the looting and the rioting are not affiliated with Black Lives Matter. The people who are shooting cops are not affiliated or not actually members of Black Lives Matter. It's the troublemakers that show up that want to loot and steal and do all this stuff. So to say all that to say that sometimes I try and help point people in the right direction to say, no, you need to do some more studying. You're off there. But if they come back and they push back with more, then it's kind of, I get the idea, okay, you're just a bigot. You just, and you're going to continue to believe what you believe, so I'm done with it.
No, you ain't. Jay, I'm going to call you on the carpet right now, brother. No, I'm not letting you get away with this.
Go ahead.
Every time, and I'm about to name a name, and you about to laugh as soon as I say his name. Chris Baker.
Chris Baker.
He always on Charles Albert Johnson's post, and you and him be going at it back and forth. You don't know who that is?
It sounds familiar, but I can't place the face. Does he have a profile picture on his
Yeah, he does. You and him always going back and forth because he's always on the white side of white supremacists. His name is Chris Baker, right, John? And him and Jay be going at it.
Now I can't say if he's who I think you're talking about, and this is the devious side of me. Sometimes I like trolling some of them.
You just being petty.
Sometimes it depends on who it is. I like trolling some of them, but I don't remember him per se. But if I go online and see him, I'll know what you're talking about. Yeah, Charles got some interesting people that follow him. Just go to his page. You'll see. Yeah. You'll see you and Chris Baker. I'll be like, man, Jay be going at this dude. Yeah, but people in general that I don't really like. Sometimes I go on, like, there's a the TV stations here, Channel 4, Channel 5. They have blogs and stuff like that, and people get on. And there's, I know every city has its races, but these, a lot of races are attracted to those pages. I'm usually just going there and put my comment as far as what I know to be the truth, and then next thing I know, about 200 races come and reply to my comments. Yeah, and I don't have the time of day to respond to all of them, so I either make another general comment and move on or whatever. But one of my
I got you.
Yeah.
I understand.
That's pretty much.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, you can get off the carpet now. I called you the carpet. You can get off the carpet. Okay.
Yeah. But I am guilty of sometimes trolling races. I do that sometimes.
Trolling.
Right.
I'll take that. Because John's guilty of that too. John is petty. He admits to being petty.
Yeah. In my experience, man, if you wanna see, if you want to get the pulse of the racism in your city, go to the comment section of any type of kind of racially controversial issue, news article. You go to, exactly. And go to any comment section of any. I mean, it could be any. It could be YouTube, but just go to the comment section and man, wowzers. But like I said, if it's like a local affiliate, if a local news station runs an article about something online, go to the comment section. These are the people that you work with, and possibly go to church with, but that's another story. But yeah,
or work with, right? Well, today the one guy pulled a black card. He says, "Oh, I got black friends. I wish David Lee was here so he can co-sign." Basically, so David Lee can co-sign this garbage that he's saying. I'm like, man, you really think David Lee's gonna co-sign this mess?
Right.
Oh my gosh! But I got a question for y'all. Maybe y'all might not be able to answer it. Is it just me, or is the worst thing in the world a white person being called a racist?
Yeah,
because they get so offensive are so offended, or maybe they're just full outrage.
No, they really hurt because, and here's why. They look at themselves as good people. And if you call them a racist, they look at racist as being bad. So, you calling me a bad guy. Well, I haven't done anything wrong. So you call them a racist is calling them bad people, and they don't look at themselves that way. And I think, I don't know, we had a mutual friend, Eric Merksam. He's from Boston. You remember him, John? Rob, you remember Eric? Yep. He said,
I remember.
He talked about, it's like calling me a bad guy, and I'm not a bad person. But he said I'm a racist. I have never looked at myself as being a racist because, as Steve said, I treat people the same. And they may even use terms such as colorblind. I'm colorblind. So, I mean, that's what it is. And you call me a racist, you're saying I'm a bad guy. I don't disagree with black people. But that's what I think. That's what I think.
Colorblind is the most ridiculous response or statement I ever heard or seen. That's just like looking at the lilies of the valleys and the flowers and the roses and saying, "Oh, I'm colorblind. I don't see all the different flowers and roses and lilies that God made and the beautiful landscapes and the trees and they all look the same." That's just stupid. God gave us diversity of peoples and languages and cultures, and we can appreciate them and like them all. We don't have to all be the same and comport to white American culture. We're all the same. We're all American. Well, what's American?
But, when people say they're colorblind, here's really, the racial tone behind it is, I'm white. I don't see you as a black person. I see you as a white person, too. So
exactly. That's my point.
That's colorblind. But it's assimilation, so you need to assimilate to me. So, I'm normal. So I view you as normal, therefore I view you as being a white person like me.
I'm normal, that means you abnormal.
But, it may not be a conscious thought in their mind, but really that's what it is.
Yeah, there was a guy I used to work with back in the 90s. He told me that he was from Boston. The Boston area, he really never had any contact with black people. So this was his first time being around black people. And he told me, he said, I don't really have a problem with black people. You're just like a donut, a white donut that's selling chocolate or something. I'm looking at him like, that makes sense to you? Okay, dude, whatever.
I'm like, man, if you don't get out of here.
Wow.
Okay. All right. You good, Jay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, man.
All right. That's it. All right. This is open mic, brother. You got anything else?
No, that's it. You guys have a good day.
All right. Just don't put you on hold, brother. Keep listening.
All right.
All right. Now, we didn't want this whole show to be but 5903, what is on your mind? What you want to talk about? I think John wanted to talk about some Christian hip-hop. I don't know why he brought me and Rob into it, but John, what's up, bro? What you want to talk about, cuz?
First, I would like to talk about that whack Dollar General mic you keep using because you're still cutting in and out.
Man, I was trying to say that.
All right. So I know you two brother. Now Rob laughed. So now anyway, y'all not really y'all don't follow Christian hip hop. I follow Christian hip hop. So let's just talk about hip hop in general for a second. Then I'm gonna move into it. So what is beef to y'all? When you hear the word beef in connection with hip hop, what do you think of?
Going back and forth, arguing.
Yeah, I mean, we know what beef is. What's up? Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that there should be beef in Christian hip hop?
No, I don't think it should be.
Yeah, I guess not. Not in Christian hip hop, I guess not.
Okay, well, currently there is beef in Christian hip hop, and people are going back and forth. Y'all know you fans of Lecrae. I'm a Lecrae fan. And also the cast that he's beefing with, I'm fans of theirs too. So for those who don't know who Lecrae is, Lecrae's a rapper who just happens to be Christian. And he's kind of mainstream. He's like one of the biggest Christian rappers that's out there rapping. You know, he's had songs with Ty Dolla $ign, with Tori Kelly. You know, he's done whole albums with a so-called secular producer like Don Cannon. You know, whole albums. He's done songs with Paul Wall. All these kind of mainstream rappers. And just like us, he's kind of being ostracized by the quote-unquote Christian hip-hop community, saying that he's selling now, he done sold his soul to the devil, this, that, and the other, because he's actually doing what God told us to do, go ye therefore. He's going out to reach them. So, Shylin, y'all heard of Shylin?
Yeah.
Shylin called out the whole Reach Records camp, basically, but he really was talking about Lecrae, but he really called out the whole Reach Records camp, saying that the direction that they're going in is unbiblical, ungodly, and he wrote a song about it.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of beefish. Lecrae hadn't responded. Somebody else responded, a dude named Ruslan. Ruslan responded kind of beefing with Shylin, and some of the points she brought out was that Shylin is kind of a theological rapper.
Mm-hmm.
And his base, what he was saying was, if you're a theological rapper, but if you want to make raps for unbelievers or for people to get to know the gospel, they're not going to understand that, so they're not going to listen to you. And so this other guy, one of my other rapper groups, Hazakim, Jonathan like Hazakim, these guys are Jewish believers, and they went back on Ruslan kind of beefing. So do y'all think beef should be interpreted anyway? I know you already said no, but why do you think beef in Christian hip-hop is not good?
They already got beef with the world. I mean, you know what I mean?
What did you say, Jonathan?
They already got beef with the world.
Uh-huh.
Now, and then to be beefing with each other publicly, I mean, we know brothers fight, but they usually fight behind closed doors. And they can just have this, you know, why can't they sit down and talk and settle it instead of going public with that kind of stuff? That's my thing.
Yeah, I would agree
And
with
the thing,
that. Yeah.
And they did. I think they talked for about a year, but he still came out with his album. And y'all, those who don't know, you probably remember Shylin. A few years ago, he came out with that song talking about pimp preachers and Paula White, false preachers. It was a really good song. But and to me, as a hip hop fan, just like those growing up, we know that there's different styles of hip hop, different genres, different types of hip hop, and I believe we need it all. I believe we need the Shylins. I believe the little craze that's not always Jesus, Jesus, Jesus in every song. And then sometimes you need that. So I know this is a little short subject, but I just want to talk about it, see what y'all thought.
Rob, you have some thoughts about it?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Christian hip. Well, speaking of that, what about let's talk about this Christian entertainment in and of itself, because you have a lot of believers that really believe that you're not supposed to watch anything secular, anything that got any kind of cussing in it, any kind of violence, and you're not supposed to watch it. All you're supposed to watch is Christian stuff or listen to Christian music. How do y'all feel about that? And what's your thoughts about that? You know, people, you watch Game of Thrones, you're a Christian? What? You watch Power? What? What you gonna watch? TBN all day?
you know what, man?
What's your thoughts about that?
My thought is just based on your last comment. Watching TBN all day is part of the problem that we have in the institutional church today. That's part of the whole problem. But I mean, it's basically people setting goal lines for people to or boundaries for people to stay behind based on their own convictions, man. They might not want to watch Game of Thrones or Power or anything like that, or Empire. I hate that show, but just as an example, they might not want to watch it based on their own convictions, but that doesn't mean that somebody else can't watch it for what it is. And I mean, what are people going to just like lose who they are as a believer just by watching a fictional television show? I mean that's a real question. So, like I said, it's just people. It's people making rules for other people to follow based on their own convictions. If you guys remember, a couple of years ago, there was this guy that kept coming on my post, and then he kept inboxing me, basically trying to correct me because all I was doing, I think I might have been talking about a couple of rappers or something.
I was on an award show one time.
I was talking about an award. Yeah, I talked about an award show, and I didn't even watch that show.
It was somebody with the same name, and he thought it was the wrong person. You was talking about something totally different. I can't remember who it was.
I can't even remember either. I can't. You're right. It was a guy was talking about something totally different, but he thought I was talking about one of these hip hop award shows that I wasn't even I hadn't even watched. I wasn't even talking. I wasn't even referring to it, but he felt the need to come on my post and excoriate me from a Christian biblical standpoint and chastise me. And then he came in my inbox trying to correct me, and I basically had to tell him about his religious self and eventually block him. But yeah, again, it's people making up rules for other people based on their own convictions. And I'll pass the mic.
Right, but not just making up rules, but casting people in the hell.
Oh yeah.
And it's I say it's more than that too than just cast people in hell. It's basically challenging your Christianity, saying you're not a real Christian, are you a fake Christian, or you know, are you a carnal Christian because you watch this stuff? That's kind of where it goes to too. Calling your Christianity into question because when your faith don't look like theirs, when your walk don't look like theirs.
Right, and we've done shows on that before.
And it's kind of the same thing. I know not to jump back on it, but how they doing Lecrae, because his walk don't look like theirs, because his walk is his gift is evangelism, and he's out there in trying to reach the people, trying to reach these rappers to build relationships with them. You can't reach nobody.
Right.
That ain't me.
Yeah, that was you, because it stopped as soon as you stopped talking.
No, as soon as you said hold on, it stopped.
Well, you like you were shaking Tic Tacs out of a Tic Tac box or something.
I said it wasn't me.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so
he maybe just about straight to talk.
Like when I got saved, and I think Elvin had the same issue, he got rid of all the secular music. Got rid of all the secular music. I would not listen to our local radio station. All I would listen to was a gospel station. I bought all these gospel CDs. I still got most of them because I paid for them. I'm going to throw them away. I still got most of them CDs sitting right now, just sitting in the CD case, CD folder, binder, whatever you call it. But I got rid of all that stuff because I thought that, you know, I had to get rid of it. I couldn't listen to it. It was going to be a bad influence. It was going to be spiritual and demonic influences, you know, coming through the music. You know, that's what I thought. And a lot of Christians still believe that. You know, they still believe that if you listen to this, then you're going to be influenced. You open up the gates, the gateway, you you open up your life to demonic activity. I hate that phrase. I hate that phrase. You open up your life to demonic activity because you watch a television show. It getting your spirit in it, and, you know, you don't want all that stuff. If you know who you are in Christ, none of that stuff will affect your relationship with Christ. Okay?
Right.
Stop it. Stop it.
And
that's all I'm saying. John, what was you about to say?
I don't know. You accused me of rubbing my beard against the microphone, which I wasn't doing. But
Anyway, man.
Come on, man.
Moving on. So what's
yeah, man.
Go ahead. Go. What's
the
next?
phone lines again, man. 516-418-5903. Call in, share your story. You want to vent? You got mad at your pastor for doing something with the first lady or whatever, with the secretary? Call in. We'd love to hear your story. Anyway, what you saying, Rob?
No, I was just wondering what the next, what we wanted to touch on next. I mean, I don't know.
Tithing? No, I want to talk about tithing. I want to talk about
that in our sleep.
Right. Well, I done lost my train of thought that daggone quick. Marjorie has shared a post with us about. It was a picture of the dude from Greenleaf in his bishop's attire, and apparently, dude had a something in the middle of his clergy collar, and an adjutant. Rob, can you explain what an adjutant is, real quick?
I guess that's a super spooky religious title for a valet, for a butler, whatever.
Personal servant, yeah.
Personal
like
servant,
an armor bearer.
Yeah, armor bearer, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, it's a very elevated religious description of that. But go ahead.
Yeah, let me pull up. So this adjutant posted something. Let me try to find it and read it real quick. No, so it wasn't that it was something in the middle of his collar. That was supposed to be there. It looked like the collar wasn't put on properly. Right. And he was saying you're on national TV. Yeah, you're on national TV. That's what he's saying. You're on national TV perpetrating. I don't know if he was saying he's perpetrating as one of these so-called super spiritual church leaders, but you can't even put your clothes on right. And he got on the adjutant saying, don't you ever let your man to God, basically, walk out in public looking like that. I didn't read the whole post. That's just what I gleaned from the little bit that I saw.
I think you're right, John. I think that's basically what the gist of the post was. And Miss Justice is she has these ninja-like skills for, being in these real religious Facebook groups, playing the background, playing the wall, and just spying on these religious groups. And when they, make these stupid posts like that, like the one that we're talking about, this was basically a group for adjutants. It's a Facebook group for adjutants and armor bearers and all that type of foolishness. And this particular dude made a post. I mean, it was the tone of it was real feminine, if you ask me. But it was some dude made this post, had his bishop up there in his clergy attire, in his vestments or whatever, and was complaining about how wrong it looked. Now, we don't care anything about vestments, so we don't know how it was, quote unquote. Again, not even caring about vestments and the clergy collar and the whole nine. We don't care about that. But just based on the picture, I mean, I'd have to say that the guy looked presentable. I mean, he looked neat. He didn't have like barbecue sauce on his collar or nothing like that. I mean, just based on the picture, the guy looked neat. I mean, he looked put together. You know what I mean? And okay. But this guy is so caught up and invested in clergy attire and how a quote-unquote man of God is supposed to look that he went on this real religious rant.
I found it.
Running down other adjutants. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
And I need to bring a correction. I need to correct myself. The guy who made the post is not an adjutant himself, but he's a bishop designate.
Oh my God! Whatever.
So
whatever that is.
He was preempting. He was pre-checking the adjutants to let them know
Taking up their place. So this is what he said. Now, if this is an embarrassment for an actor on syndicated television, who said it was an embarrassment for him? Who said he was embarrassed? Anyway, if this is an embarrassment for an actor on syndicated television, how much more of an embarrassment would it be for your bishop or leader who should know better, or at least have individuals around him or her that know better? Adjutants, it is important that you know the proper order and placement of clerical attire and vestments. Not just you, but familiarize your leader with them as well, so that in the event they are by themselves, they don't look like they're public. Greenleaf, and it looked like his collar was inappropriately buttoned or whatever. I was trying to figure out what's wrong with it because I don't know. I'm not an adjutant. I'm not a bishop designate. I'm not a bishop, so I don't know. But he was checking them. And I think he don't want to get caught up like that. But just all this stuff, you're more concerned about just the way his collar looks instead of people's souls.
That's what they're worried about, right?
John, it's nonsense.
Yep, nonsense.
You know, Jesus talked about the Pharisees walking around in these long flowing robes. For what? To be seen of men. They want to be seen. Yep. I'm important. Look at my collar. I got on a purple shirt. Come on, bro. The Ku Klux Klan wear purple too.
Exactly.
But
so do Prince fans.
Yeah, Prince too. But I just can't understand the level of insanity of extraness. This is extra when it comes to the body of Christ, and we support this mess.
No, but think about
this mess. Go ahead.
But think about this, Jonathan. You even tell a story yourself of how you used to walk around with your collar on and feel important.
Yeah,
remember?
I did.
And so did I. And I could tell you when I used to wear my collar, when I used to go to church and wear my collar, I used to wear it on first Sundays or when they have something special. This is when I was in Kansas. When I was here, I used to wear it on fourth Sundays or whatever. But when I stop at the gas station, people would hold the door for me. They would call me sir. You know, different things like that. That's just a little bit of respect. But that right there, if you don't check it, it can grow. Mm-hmm. And the more the more that it's fed to you, the more you're going to want it. It's like an addiction. It is an addiction. You love that feeling.
Highly.
You get high off of that feeling. You get emotionally high. So it's important to them that they look good, because if you don't look good, then you won't get that respect that comes with the clothes. But the clothes don't make the man. The man's supposed to make the clothes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the opposite way around. Clothes do make the man. Not supposed to, but they do.
Yeah, that's true.
John, I was right with you. Walking out, I'm telling you that. And I wore mine like a special occasion. Oh, don't let it be a funeral or a wedding of somebody I know, or somebody I know's family member. I was wearing my collar. So they would call for all the clergy to come sit up front or come sit on the stage. Oh yeah, I loved the attention. I loved it. Soaked it up. I loved the admiring looks I would get, the pats on the back. Oh, you're such a young man that has this collar on. I was in my 20s.
What's up, preacher?
Late 20s, early 30s. Hey, what's up, Pop? I love that. The respect I got, and like John said, it was very addictive. So, it is incumbent to look good, when it comes to these type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Man, but you can't let it go to your head. This is like John said, it's nonsense, and that's the perfect word for it. Because what does that have anything to do with Scripture, with teaching, with preaching, with discipling? And we always talk about preaching the gospel, Okay, you preach the gospel, okay, but you're supposed to teach the believers. I already have the gospel. I understand. I've accepted the gospel. Stop preaching the gospel to me.
Right.
That's my outtake on it. I don't need you to preach me the gospel no more. I know the gospel. Okay, how do I grow in Christ? How do I mature to grow up to become a mature Christian, that where I may turn around and teach other people Is it by clothes? Is it by title?
Yeah, it's based off of looks.
Nothing to do with it.
And think about this is a saying that I heard. I heard this from Deion Sanders, football player, and he said this is something his coach told him. He said, "You look good, you feel good. You feel good, you play good." And let's take it over. Let's take it over. Take it over. Right, take it over to the church. You look good, feel good, preach good, get paid good. Huh. But think about this. Remember the story when they were looking for, when the prophet was going to find David, and he looked at David's brothers and thought, surely this is the man that God wants. Mm-hmm. Looks don't mean nothing. I know that's bad grammar, but looks don't mean nothing. It's nothing. It's what's on the inside of a man.
That's right. But you can't tell these adjectives that.
Some of these churches are probably the same churches that don't allow women to wear makeup or earrings or pants for that matter. But your pastor better be sharp, boy. Now, John, you said at your church that you couldn't get in what they call the rostrum or whatever, pulpit without a jacket.
They didn't want you up there without a jacket.
Like with an after-5 dinner party or something.
Yep.
And I remember I got into a big argument. It was right around Easter. And I said, y'all going broke, spend all this money to eat the clothes. I said, God don't care what clothes you got on your back. And, boy, you thought I stole somebody's bike the way they came after me. I can look good if I can look good for my job or look good for an interview or look good to go out to a nightclub. I can look good for God. I was like, you think God cared what your clothes look like? Jesus wore sandals. They wore sandals back in the day.
Right.
And remember that post?
Now, back in the Old Testament, now he had his priests wear specific garments for a reason. You know, they had the ephod and all this stuff. They had that for a reason. The 12 stones representing the 12 tribes of Israel, all this good stuff. They had the turban, the sash, all that stuff for a reason. But all that stuff died out. So all these whole vestments and the attire running around here looking like black Catholics and all this stuff, man.
Looking like so enough.
It's crazy. Y'all wearing all this stuff.
Looking like
showed up for the last dragon. That's what they look like.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're talking about the Hebrew Israelites.
Same thing.
Well,
with all the colored collars and all that stuff. That stuff doesn't matter. These specialty robes and all this stuff. These robes cost a lot of money. Stuff wasn't cheap.
What about those fish hats?
The who?
Them fish hats.
I mean, it's the same thing, man. It's all foolishness. It's all that attire, and it's all nonsense, man. It's all religious stuff.
You know, again, what's the point of it? What's the point? What gets done? Is it you can't properly minister without those things on?
Right.
Are you still a man of God without that stuff?
Right.
Are you still a woman of God without that stuff? Without the armor bearer, without the adjutant? Who are you?
That's your Superman cape. That gives you your superpowers, which is the anointing, which makes you start to hum when you start to preach.
But you know what? What's crazy is, and it all has to do with the system, a lot of people won't accept them without that stuff.
That's true.
And a lot of stuff don't like that. Then you're seen as less than. You're seen as a fraud if you don't have these credentials. If you're not dressed a certain way, if you're not dressed properly, you won't be welcome to preach at this church. We have a church of 20,000 members, but you don't have your clergy vestments properly. So, I don't care how dynamic of a speaker you are. You can't come in here preaching.
You unprofessional.
Oh, have mercy. So I think a lot of these guys have to bow down to the demands of that in order to fit in. Go along and get along. And then a question was asked a while ago, and this is going backtracking a little bit, on why a lot of preachers won't speak out against racism and white supremacy on Sunday mornings, like right after that Sunday following Charlottesville. My thought was they can't speak on it because the people don't want to hear that stuff. People don't want to hear that. I want to hear how to get over. I want to hear about my breakthrough. I want to hear about my next level, my promotion. I want to hear how the devil messing with me, but God going to provide a way that it's going to be okay, that we can do it for a night, but that's what I want to hear. I want to hear that kind of stuff. And so if the pastors start preaching this kind of stuff, the people going to grumble, and he going to lose them. So even if he wanted to talk about that kind of stuff, the people won't allow it.
Do you think it's as cut and dried as that? That is
no, it's not that simple. It's not that simple. But I think it boils down to that.
Because I'm quite sure there were some churches that actually did talk about it. Specifically, what happened in Charlottesville, but I don't know. So, with that being said, with that not being that cut and dried, could there be an even bigger reason why they can't talk about it?
Well, I think we have to look at the type of church too. Like I said, if you have different type of churches where you have certain denominations where pastors are assigned, you know what I mean? They can talk about what they want to talk about for the most part. But I believe if you start talking about this stuff, people don't want to hear that, so they're gonna stop giving. They may stop coming. They may not give. So the donations gonna start to dry up. They got to keep the people happy, even though they are in charge. But as long as they're preaching what the people want to hear, they're good to go. But if the people don't want to hear about that, and I'm not saying this every church. I'm not saying every church. So I need you to hear me when I say that. If you're listening, I'm not saying that because there were some pastors that talked about it. I'm pretty sure they were. I don't know any personally, but I'm pretty sure there were. But overall, I'm thinking that you can't really talk because that's not going to raise no good offering. It's not. I'm just telling you, that's not going to raise no good offering.
And some of these churches, some of these churches ain't going to say nothing because they're part of denominations that are ran by white supremacists, the SBC. You got black churches that's inside the SBC who won't speak out because SBC kind of, like if they're low on funds, they support them. But they don't want to lose their support from these denominations. So they're going to be quiet or they're going to cape for them.
How much of a role do you guys think the whole 501c3 issue plays in that? Is that like the major reason why these things don't get discussed, or? It's a cop-out
as to why they don't discuss them. Because can you name me one church that the IRS has ever came after for doing something like that?
Well, no, I can't, but maybe we haven't heard of it because of the 501c3 thing. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm just saying.
They do it. I don't think the 501c3. I think that's just they get that for tax purposes. I know they are in bed with the state, but churches pretty much by and large still promote whatever presidential candidate they want to promote and whatever agenda they want to promote, regardless of whether they have the 501c3 or not. Because like I said, I don't believe the government. They're more concerned about the financial things. Huh?
I said, shout out to the homie Paul Fitz for bringing that up.
Okay.
But yeah, man. So all right, we got another caller, and I think I know who this is, but we're gonna bring him on from the 412. 412. You are now live on Real Talk Radio. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Revolution, my brothers. This is Brother Leonard, the Truth Seeker. How you guys doing this morning?
Truth Seeker.
What's up, Lynn? What's going on, homie?
Yeah, man.
Mr. YouTube famous.
Yeah, what you were talking about just a few seconds ago, I don't necessarily think that it's when it relates to the speaking out. I honestly think that it has nothing to do with the 501c3. It has nothing to do with with the pastors trying to raise a good offering on the people's side. Whether or not the people are for it or against it, people are behind the man. Okay, I think it's more so of the preacher thinking that I can't get what I want out of people, getting them chasing after a bunch of politics stuff on this way. You know, the oppression, to me, the oppression is just as real with white folk over black folk, per se, as pastors over people. Okay? The oppression is still the same. So why would you, as an oppressor, look to seek to liberate your people on something else when you want to keep them oppressed? That's all I'm saying on that. So, of course, they're not going to say anything about you standing up for your rights and anything, because eventually they're going to stand up for their rights against you. But real quick, since this is open mic, I just wanted to put out there, when in the world, because this is seeming like this is all current issues, when in the world did the Bible actually come up with a plan of restoration? Because I'm still trying to figure this thing out, especially restoration of the past.
Leonard, the only thing I think is Galatians 6. I think where it talks about you that are spiritual, restore such a one with meekness. That's the only thing I saw. I think it's Galatians 6 and 1.
Yeah, but there's this formulation, this plan that pastors have been using for a long time, and we see 90 days is typically the right amount of numbers for that. But let's say, for instance, our most recent, restoree in Chris Hill, right? Do you think in 90 days that man sat up there and was able to get, his wife past the sin that he committed this past 90 days? I'm not so sure about that. Nor am I so sure if the husband of his goddaughter that he was messing with, is able to get past him over this past 90 days. You know what I'm saying? It's just, there's a lot of things that when pastors do stuff that we want to sit up there and say, well, God restores and God forgives. Yes, he does. Yes, he does restore. But it's sure enough, in these situations, going to be 90 days, number one. Number two, when you, and I'm just going to say this too, when you are a leader of people, and, I get this, pretty often in the discussion after, talking about these videos. When you are a leader, I honestly believe that disqualifies you almost permanently, especially when it deals with these types of things. Okay? And the reason why I say that is in order for you to get into that situation, to have sex with your secretary, or to, other situations where they're molesting children, or they're having, just whatever they're doing, right? By the way, if they're molesting children and they're out of jail, there's a problem. When we look at this whole thing of restoration, if you're in those situations, how can you be trusted as a leader of people when you use your position of leadership to take advantage of people? I don't get that, because here's the thing: when you get back into that leadership position, more than likely you are going to do the same thing. I mean, it's just crazy to me. I don't get it. I really don't, fellas. I really don't.
So yeah, didn't we touch on this recently? And
yep.
the fact that, you know, what gives another man the power, the right, or what have you, to quote unquote restore somebody else. Again, just like Leonard said, we know God forgives, God restores, and that's basically the bottom line. That's who we all answer to. But when you're looking at these institutional church setups, man, a lot of these men are overstepping their boundaries, and what I mean by that is that they're taking their quote unquote CEO status of these businesses, basically called churches, and using their religious titles. You understand what I'm saying? They're seeing themselves. They're basically putting more stock into themselves than they ought to. They're thinking more highly of themselves than they ought to. So, you know, what Leonard's referring to is T.D. Jakes, quote unquote, restoring Chris Hill. I guess if I ran a business, I have every right to restore somebody if I wanted to. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I can't. Mm-hmm. Who am I to actually absolve a person of their sins or of their shortcomings? I can't do that. That's between them and God. Again, God forgives. I can forgive, you know, from a personal standpoint. But I mean, what are you guys' thoughts on that, man?
Well, for me, it's more of them feeling like they're the boss. Mm-hmm. It's their kingdom. Mm-hmm. They're in charge. They're the pastor. They have the right to tell somebody, okay, now it's time for you to come back. And T.D. Jakes is the CEO of T.D. Jakes Ministries, or whatever you call it, or Potter House Inc., or whatever you want to call it. He's in charge of it. So he has the final say. It's his business. It's his church. It's not God's church. It's his church. So he could tell you when you can come up and when you can sit down.
Like
God may have called you, but I'm still controlling you.
Exactly. That's most churches, by the way. You know, it's not God's church anymore. It is whoever's in charge of that church is. Mm-hmm. And the thing that really bothers me with this whole notion of the restoration and this process for restoration is that when you, as a layperson, right, if you're a layperson in the church and you decide that you want to go and say, you know, have affairs with another man's wife, another layperson's wife in that church, you know, unless you're a big offering giver, not much is going to be said about the pastor going to be saying to you about, you know, not kicking you out. Because more than likely, they're going to handle you, right? But it's just something about when that pastor, when he does what he does, he wants to be on your level at that point of a layperson looking to be restored by the rest of his congregation, looking for forgiveness by the rest of that congregation. And I'm like, at this point, it's amazing how you can sit up here and say in one instance that you can't do this, but when I do it, you know, just forgive me for it. You know, and another thing, too, and then I'm gonna let you guys go on. You know, I don't understand how, you know, especially men in this situation, right? I don't understand how a man, a Christian man, can look at somebody like Chris Hill and say, actually help me be a better husband? Mm-hmm. Can he help be a better father? Can he help me be a better member in my community? When you look at a situation where he sits up there and has an affair on his wife with the church secretary who happens to be his goddaughter, how, as a man in that situation, in that congregation, how can I feel comfortable with going to him about my marital problem? Because now I'm thinking to myself, if I go to him with my marital problems, will he try to sleep with my wife? Can me as a man sit up there and look at him trying to be a better husband and a better father when he's treating his family the way that he's treating them? These issues, I don't think. Go ahead, Twin.
You know what he's going to say? He's going to say, learn from my mistakes. I messed up, and I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. So you can learn from me.
But see, that's a problem, because there is no learning from my mistakes. I mean, it's learning from my mistakes, not from your mistakes. I didn't live your mistakes. You know, why are you to me, that still is a problem, because if he's supposed to be this example, right, then I need to disassociate myself with him anyway, because Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. And at the moment that he starts to veer away from Christ and you start seeing Christ go in a different direction, you're supposed to follow after Christ, right? But if we're following this man after his mistakes and saying we're going to keep following you even though you have made these mistakes, you are in fact following him and not following Christ, because you don't even know if the man has gone back to Christ. You see what I'm saying? So
let me play devil's advocate here. So,
all right,
God his congregation admitted what he did and asked for forgiveness. Has he done it? Do you know if he's done that or not? I'm not sure.
No, you got to repeat it because you were breaking up really bad.
Oh, God, dog, I hate this phone. Is this better?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I hope so. So let me play devil's advocate here. I don't know if he's actually done this or maybe he hasn't done it or not. But let's assume he has come to his congregation openly and said, I did X, Y, Z. I slept with this girl. I'm sorry. I apologize. I asked God for forgiveness. I'm asking my congregation for forgiveness. At that point, now what? Can you still follow a man who admits his faults, who falls down, asks for forgiveness, cries out for mercy, from God and from the people? Can you follow that man if he did those things?
Put it like this. From experience, now in this situation, that didn't happen. What happened was the wife came out with a blast on social media about that was going on with Chris and the chick, and then the Jakes and them came up to help deal with that. But that's that's on that thing. But we can look at a similar example. We can look at this similar example where Jimmy Swaggart, after he was, after Duty Bop, I forgot his name real quick, but after he hired that private investigator and got those photos and sent those photos to whoever the home office is at the Assemblies of God Church, Jimmy Swaggart came up into his congregation all teary-eyed and, full of whatever sorrow that was, and it's like, I have sinned, forgive me, weeping and everything like that. And at that point, a lot of people forgave him. Forgave him. But 2 years later, guess what? Jimmy Swaggart did the same exact thing. So I think now we, if you know these situations, a lot of people will forgive, but there are a lot of folks, now who now get the information now, are willing to look at it like, wait a minute, if he says X, Y, and Z, we even know within ourselves, there are certain things that we all do within our own selves that I'm going to do that again. I'm not going to do that again. Hell, this summer I sat up there and said I'm giving up alcohol and beer. And guess what? That only lasted for about a month, maybe 40 days. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. I mean, I just said, hey, I'm going to give this up, and I'm not going to, I'm going to try to change. I'm going to do this. get rid of all this excess sugar in my life because it's bringing me down. It's making me unhealthy. I want to be healthy for my folks and everything like that. And then here we go, and then here we are. You know what I'm saying? So there are things in our lives where we can sit up there and say, we have all these troubles, and yet we all should be working and trying to get it. But there's something about the sexual sin. Because, like Paul said, the sexual sin is that sin that not only does he commit it against whoever it is that he's committing it against himself. You know what I'm saying? When you're looking at the people and the people depending upon you on these situations, you're taking advantage of them. And that's my big issue with it.
And let me throw this in here too, Lenny. So, like you said, like what Jimmy Swagger did. So in my situation, with me playing devil's advocate, if a person did do all that, okay, yes, you forfeited that. He should not be placed in another leadership position.
Okay.
Okay, he can be forgiven for what he's done. You show mercy, you forgive him, restore such a one with gentleness. But you should not be put in a position over people again. And this is speaking strictly within the institutional church system. So you should not be placed in a leadership position again. You forfeited that when you messed up. There's some things you can't take back. There are consequences for what you did. Okay, you may be an excellent speaker, but you messed up so bad you cannot be put back in that position again. Whether you are truly honest and you're sincere and you never did again, you still should not be placed in another position of leadership. You forfeited that. Your pastor must be blameless.
Yes, exactly. And here's the funny thing about it. People who live honest, Jamal Bryant, he's an honest hoe. I mean, he just does what he do. But yet, ain't nobody sit up there and he's under people. He's not over a lot of people. He has people above him in leadership in the church, and he still has a church. Just think about that.
Money, baby. You bringing all that money.
He ain't hiding from the fact of whether the baby mama number 1, 2, 3, stocking chick. We don't. I mean, he's talking about on TV, talking about being. I want to have. I'm okay with polygamy on TV. You can't sit up there and say as, him being honest, because he's honest about his stuff, and yet we sit up here like, oh, well, he sure can preach good. If he can bring in that money, we just going to let him go ahead and do what he do. Come on, y'all. Sometimes integrity to the word of God has to supersede preaching. Like in 1 Timothy 3, when we look at that scripture, it goes down the list. When Paul gives these qualifications, he's like, first of all, if you're going to seek leadership, just know this, that it is a noble thing, that it is a distinctive thing, that if you're going to do this, that you need to present yourself at a dignified level. So first you need to be blameless. Then you also need to be temperate. You also need to be, overcome by being a drunkard. And, faithful. Well, first of all, is faithful to his wife after being blameless, being faithful to his wife, being a good father. Goes down all these litanies, and then down towards the bottom of the list, can be apt to preach or apt to teach. The public speaking thing is like way on the list of priorities, is way down the list. But in most of our minds, then whether or not you're faithful to your wife, whether or not you're a mean person, whether or not you like to be blasted all the time, all that stuff goes down the list as long as you can preach good here in the institutional church. But for Paul is a very interesting cat, right? He even says that in the way that I work, yet I still have to present myself so that I am not disqualified. he talks about himself not being disqualified. He's trying to not only live that example, but he respects the call that God has placed upon his life to do the things that would not disqualify him. If Paul was concerned about being disqualified, what about the rest of us if we're going to be in leadership? All right, fellas, I want to go get my little cup of coffee. I've been in this parking lot waiting on y'all. But revolution, everybody.
All right,
revolution, my brother. I think we got another caller.
Bring him on, brother.
So, all right, here we go. We got a caller from area code 214. 214. You are now live on Real Talk Radio. What's your name and where are you calling from, 214?
Hey, it's Rhonda calling from the balcony of my apartment in downtown Dallas. How are you guys?
All right, who day?
Hey, well, Deacon or Bishop Leonard said everything that needed to be said, really. I don't know what to say now. He did all the preaching. So I guess I'll be the petty one. And disparage or disbarge or whatever that guy said. So thank you, Joel, for coming and saying what he said behind that Facebook post, because I didn't even know it was there and still don't know where it's at, but I think that deserves my shout out. So thank you guys for just stating the point that you did regarding that post.
Which post? Which one?
The one that I was inboxed on regarding the guy who didn't like David and I. And we.
Yeah. Those comments, yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Because I've never seen any comments. Yeah, I haven't seen any comments that about me or David or what we said. So that was the first for me. So I was surprised.
Yeah.
At the same time.
So what happens?
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So when anyone comments on the videos, we get notifications in our email.
Mhm.
Yeah, so our emails be blowing up with notifications, like when they comment on the video, YouTube video, and so we'll get that notification, and then sometimes I reply, sometimes I don't, but I had to show y'all that reply because it was like, this dude done fell out of his tree. And somebody else, I didn't even share the last one. I'll send the last one to the inbox too because, man, oh man, I just be having fun with it sometimes. But the self-righteousness of some of these commenters is amazing. The arrogance that they come with, the lack of empathy. It's amazing to me. And you call yourself a Christian. Go ahead, sis. I didn't mean to cut you off like that. You got a point to make.
No, that's fine. One of the things that I would like to add is that thinking back on what Leonard just said, the qualifications and that you try to hold yourself accountable, that right there in itself says a lot. If you think about the fact that normally after the pastors are caught in situations of adultery, the next thing that comes is divorce, right? They normally divorce. And then they're put back up on the pulpit. So they don't, it's looked at like a past sin, whether or not that they've been a pastor for 20 years or 10 years. The congregation is led to, or to be brainwashed into saying, oh, that's his past. Well, really, it's not his past before Christ. It's his current situation or what he just did. And yes, we forgive him, but you can't put him back up on the pulpit because when a new person comes in, and a new couple that just got married or have been married for a while, you send that couple, if they decide they need marriage counseling, to that dude or let him sit up under them while he teaches Bible class or whatever you assign him to do, then, that's horrible because now you're up under somebody who you could possibly be in a situation like has happened several times at the Potter's house where there was a pastor who did that before and, restored, fell, cried, and I forgive you, son. You're welcome back. And you're supposed to say, okay, yeah, the blood of Christ, it erases all. Yet and still, I used to think Bishop Jakes was a shrewd businessman until quite recently, because of the fact that he preached once that if you do fall, it's like this. If you were a thief, we're not going to put you in charge of the money here. If you're a pedophile, we're not going to let you watch over the children's ministry, but you just let an adulterer come back and preach the gospel. I mean, to me, it's the same thing. So that's just what I wanted to add. It's double talk. So, I don't care what he does, in his church at this point, because I'm not giving to it and I'm not a member. Yet and still, I hold accountable the ministers and elders who were like myself, sitting on the pulpit or sitting on the first three pews, leading people to Christ or praying for them and not helping them, because all they're doing is praying for them, and prayer works. Yet at the same time, you are giving the okay, your approval, by sitting there knowing that the pastor is double talking himself. He said he wouldn't do it, but he did. Yet another thing that you said, that's a lie. So I don't know.
All right. Good stuff. Well, yeah, we appreciate you calling in, sis. Thanks for your input. Thanks for your continued support of Real Talk Radio. We love you over here.
Yes, ma'am.
And we'll continue to defend you in those comment sections, because against those self-righteous religious nutcases on that particular video.
Yeah, I'm sorry, petty.
Well, he was strange, because did he even have did he just create that profile just to say something?
I don't
know.
No face. I don't be checking. Yeah, a lot of people like that. So you call those trolls when they don't put their real face on there, or they don't put a picture of themselves. That way they can remain anonymous. Say what they want to say without being held accountable.
So those type of people like to chastise people with no transparency. They don't want to tell us who they are. Okay, great.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. It's easier.
Basically.
It's complaining.
All right.
But this is the same. It's the same video. So if you just go to YouTube, go to our channel and find the show. Just the comments on there. I got into it with this so-called female apostle. I said, "You ain't no apostle," and it wasn't because she was a female. It was because of her disposition. That was the point I was coming at. It's horrible. This lady she is horrible. I said, "You call yourself an apostle? Then you a false apostle." But yeah, it's a lot of mean comments on there.
What was the name of the show, of that particular show? That was My Experience at the
Potter's House.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, that actually is the highest rated show we have. I mean, the most watched show we have on a YouTube channel. Yes.
See that one, the one we did about David Taylor.
Nah, this one, 22,000 views.
Wow.
In a short amount of time, yeah.
22,000 people heard that. So, yeah, have listened to that show. 22,000. So, some people got free.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say that you have some people coming on there giving their testimony saying how much that show helped them out.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what we're concerned with.
Most of the people.
Yeah. All right, Sister Rhonda. Appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, you touching people, Rhonda.
Well, wonderful. We do what we do. Revolution, guys.
Revolution.
All right, revolution.
All right, fellas.
All right. Well, I think this is a good spot to end the show. We had a number out, 516-418-5903. If you got any last-minute comments before we get off the air, you better call in now, speak now, or hold your peace to the next open mic. You heard me? But we thank you guys for listening to us today, for checking us out. And we really do sincerely appreciate the support that Real Talk Radio has gotten through the years. Like I said, we've been on the air since 2011. And we're still here thanks to the support of you guys. We love it. We love it. It's very appreciated. The inboxes we get, the thanks, the responses we get, we appreciate it. It humbles us as well. So, I'm going to stop being sappy. Thank you. Any final comments, fellas?
Nah, man, just to piggyback off what you said, thanks everybody for your support. Real Talk Radio, you keep us going. So we appreciate it. Yeah. You good too. All right. We thank BEC Media as well for allowing us to become a part of their family. So, we are now broadcasting on the BEC Media Network family. Thank you guys for allowing us to be a part of the family. We come on every first and third Sundays. A little easier for us that way because John likes to go to church on second and fourth Sundays. He's a pastor. No Sleep-In Sanctuary Church. But we thank you guys, and we will see you in September, I guess. Yep.
And we out.
Later.
Gunshots.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Real Talk Radio. Check out our website at www.forrealtalkradio.com for updates on all of our social media platforms, like our YouTube channel and Facebook page. Feel free to send us your comments, questions, or criticisms. If this show or any of our past shows have helped you in any way, please feel free to share it with your friends and family. See you next time.